Steering wheel, somebody tell him to give it to me.
There's something loose between my legs.
I don't know. Let go!
I'm heavier than a freaking boat.
Nothing you can say can make that any better.
Yeah, nobody. No more radio for the rest of the race.
I'm going home.
Hello and welcome to GRSFC, an F1 podcast by soccer nerds. I'm André Carlisle, one soccer nerd. I've got two others with me. Ebony, how are you?
I'm good. I marked myself safe from crashing in Australia this morning, so I'm good.
It's very good to let your loved ones know that you're safe and you did not crash in Australia. It's more that can be said for several people. Yesterday, Donald, how are you?
Quack, quack. Ducks, baby.
Ducks. I feel like we did Ducks chant. We did not plan that. Honestly, I feel like it's even more insane if I say that we did plan that, because how could we have? But there were a lot of ducks on screen after we spent way more time than we should have in the preview asking if there were ducks in Australia. We got
told
several
y'all there
answers.
were ducks. I told y'all there were ducks. They got the best seat in the house for all the chaos.
They sure did.
No race, just ducks.
Just ducks. It was rainy. There was wind. The ducks were out. It was a ridiculous weekend. We have to talk about it because, I think going into this season, because everybody that I've listened to from, and obviously even Drive to Survive, this is supposed to be the season that one of the tightest ever, one of the most competitive ever. This is a season to watch F1. That's what everybody was saying. And it was dangerous to do that when we hadn't even seen results yet. And then this race happens. You get rain, you get a little bit of dryness, then you get a massive pocket of rain towards the end that just throws everything into chaos. So I just want to run through some of the top-notch, top line chaos items. We started with 6 rookies. When I say started, not like the flag waved. 6 rookies went out for the formation lap. Only 5 made it. Isaac Hadjar ended up crashing on the formation lap.
You might as well start in free practice because...
Oh, my God. Ollie. Yeah.
Bierman didn't make it through 2. Didn't make it through the first one and then couldn't come out for the second one or the third one. Or the third one.
Yeah, and it wasn't even raining. I don't even know what happened there. It was just there was a lot it was a tough weekend for several rookies. So we started with 6 of the formation lap, went down to 5, and then only 2 rookies ended up finishing the race, is Kimi Antonelli and Ollie Behrman. And I do believe Kimi did spin once, but he recovered. It was also not a great day for some veteran drivers. Carlos Sainz and Fernando Alonso crashed and were out. Ferrari, we thought they were cured of this. They certainly are not. They just disaster on the strategy, finished way down. They got points, but it was barely points and not where we thought Ferrari was going to be. Max was stalking. He was in second place. He was stalking Lando like a horror movie character, just wouldn't go away, especially given all the safety cars, which we will talk about. Piastri, of course, what was kind of fighting Lando, and then all of a sudden, there were team orders again. Are we back to papaya rules already? It wasn't even first race in. And then, of course, at podium, Lando, Max, George Russell. All right, that's a lot that happened. Donald, where do you want to start?
Can we get the heartwarming part of the weekend out of the way?
Let's do it.
In the face of adversity, right? Isaac Hadjar, I know we all felt really bad for him that he crashes on the formation lap, but some encouraging words for him. He was visibly crying. Anthony Hamilton, Lewis's dad, comes up and kind of consoles him. First of all, Anthony Hamilton's had to deal with that. I'm glad the two of you are on here we understand where that nurturing came from. But also, where was everybody else? Everyone else is kind of hey man, shake it off. And it was clear he needed more than that. Especially, I know how bad he felt given that he had worked so hard to be in this moment. He doesn't even make it through the formation lap before he goes out. But shout out Anthony Hamilton, because he said he felt that he needed more encouragement than he was being given, and so he said, "I'll go give it to him and no one else will." So shout out to him.
No, I think that was a really good point, and I also think there are two ways to look at this incident, right? One, it was funny. All right. We can't ignore that. It's funny for a rookie to go out and before, on the formation lap, before the race even, everybody lines up. Yeah. Very first race, he spins out. Now, he wasn't the only one to do that. Apparently, the white lines on the track, because we talked about this, it actually is a street circuit, even though it's like in a park. It's a street circuit. So there are white lines and they were wet, and it looked like if you caught them wrong or shifted while your tire was on one or something, it just spun the car around. So
Yeah,
we saw
because
that a
Kimmy
couple
even
times.
said something. Kimmy was like, they were explaining what was happening to Kimmy on the radio, and he was like, "Yeah, I almost did the same thing." And they're like, "Well, avoid the white lines." Well, you can't really avoid the white lines. Like,
Every single time an engineer would get on the radio to one of their drivers and say, "Hey, the white lines are kind of slippery. Kind of avoid them." All the drivers would be like, "Yeah, we know they've been slippery." And then as they would say that, they would hit a white line, and then they would
and then
shimmy a little bit.
the
They
back
do a little
would
shimmy.
turn.
Like without fail, whenever someone got on the radio, they're like, "Hey, be careful of this part." They go, "Copy that." It just slide all over the place.
Yeah, it's almost like, what are you supposed to do with that information? Like, I know, but I can't avoid them. Like, these cars are
Right.
big, these tires are big. We're going very fast. There's a dry line or dry-ish line that I have to follow. It goes across the white lines. What do you really want me to do about that? But so like the Hajar thing was funny. But then it was like the human element, and this is one of those things that like I really love about F1 because it gives you both. And so yes, it was funny, but then Anthony Hamilton doing what he did, you could just see it. And I even love at one point when he's like got him stopped. Hajar has his helmet on. He's walking back. You can tell he's just distraught. And Anthony Hamilton, he won't let him move forward. He just knew, like, buddy, you need to get this out before you go back to your team. Before you go back to the garage, you have to get this out. And you just kind of saw it when he just let it go. Shoulder slumped, his head went down into his shoulder, onto his shoulder, and you could tell he needed to just release that before he could then go back and be like, okay, because you're gonna feel that at some point, and you might as well get it out of the way. And I thought it was just a brilliant move by him to just be like, I'm gonna stay here and just give you this space, and eventually, I know you're gonna need to take it. It was one of the most heartwarming things I've ever really seen on a racetrack. It was amazing.
It was one of the best parts about that formation lap, honestly. Like we've all said, like his son he's been there before, so I really appreciated it so much.
Yeah. All right, Donald. Now you get to talk about the other stuff.
I done told you the weather was going to be a factor, and boy was it. I think I don't even know where to start with it. Right, from the tire strategy, everyone started on the intermediates, but then there was like when there was that glimmer of hope that everything was going to be dried up, and people switched to to the slick tires, and then there was rain coming again. One of the funniest things was Esteban Ocon going, "Hey man, everyone else is on the slick tires." Or I'm sorry, they were on the slick tires and everyone else had switched to the intermediates. They're like, "Yo man, we're on the slick tires. We're going to lose some ground." And I'm like, "Yo bro, you are in second to last place and your teammate is in last place. What ground are you worried about at this point? Like, you might as well try it out and see what happens." But he was he spoke as if he was the leader. It was like, "Hey, we're going to lose ground. These guys are going to catch up." And everyone's like, "Catch up to who?" Like, on the to get lapped? Yeah, sure. They might catch up on that, but that's going to happen. And then when it felt like, okay, everybody is starting to kind of figure out this thing, then here comes Ocon and them into the pits to switch to the intermediate tires. We're like, buddy, like, you just had this whole stand on business moment about, no, we need to do this and we need to figure this out. And then they figured it out, but like 6 laps after everybody else, so they had already lost the ground that they said they were going to. So I had mentioned that Haas was going to be a team that might not do well, but I didn't think it was going to be strategy related. But here we are.
Yeah, the one thing about that was extremely funny was Ollie Behrman coming out and just like plowing straight at Max. I was like, yeah, hell yeah.
Oh,
Ollie.
yeah. Everyone was like, "Ollie, you've had a terrible week, but if you turn left, it'll all be forgiven."
Like, you want chaos? You can be the change you want to see, Ollie. That was amazing. Ebony, what like massive thing do you want to talk about from this race? Because there was just so much.
There was so much. I mean, as a Red Bull hater, Lawson first having just a terrible P2 and P3, FP1. I mean FP2 and FP3, and then going into qualifying and getting knocked out in the first round, and then Yuki going was amazing. And then him sort of fighting, but not really fighting. And all of a sudden you're getting lapped because you spin out. You spin out, you're lapped now, and then you crash. You could have kept Checo for that. Like you helped Max none. You fought your entire way down in 13th, 14th, 15th, and then you finished 17th because you crashed less, like with more laps to go. Like trash, human trash, like partnership, hilarious. Do it every week.
Every week. That's brutal. Yeah, there is something specific about that car, and we kind of know, like, Max's driving style is so unique that it's almost alien to the way that most people are taught to drive. Like he just handles it, and it is so difficult, especially in wet conditions, to control that car. But like you said, even in qualifying, he was having a hard time and it was the same thing Checo went with. And we can kind of go back through all of Max's teammates. Like, they set the car up for Max. The trouble is, it's really hard for anybody who's not Max to perform in that car. And they just keep on getting taught that, I guess, the wrong way with the number 2 driver who can really never do anything. I mean, shout out to Checo, who was actually able to do it a couple seasons, and then it all dropped off. But like, it's one of the wildest things when you see one Red Bull constantly fighting for pole position, constantly fighting for the top step of the podium, and then you have one that can't even get out of Q1.
On top of that, Red Bull's erratic strategy almost paid off for him. Like, they had the whole thing where Max was like, yo, these tires suck. And they're like, hey, man, everyone's on intermediates. Everyone's tires suck, so you should stay out. And then everyone then came in to switch them out for the slicks. And then they're like, no, Max, stay out. You'll be in first. And Max's like, I'm going to have to come in at some point too. Like, what are we talking about? Then there was right as he put the slicks on, they're like, hey, it's about to rain. He almost was like, yo, you telling me now? Like I wasted a whole pit on some tires for 2 laps? Like, come on. And even with all that, because of the disaster strategies of other teams around him, McLaren, we'll get into McLaren in a minute, how they almost messed it up for everybody. He almost wins the whole race. And then, like you said, he was in a position where he had 5 or 6 laps where he was just chasing down Lando and having the whole world hoping that Lando could at least conjure some sort of puppy, chihuahua, something to hold him off. And, I guess thankfully he did, ? But Red Bull did not have a great race. And even Max didn't have a great race, but he still almost worked out for him, which is really, really frustrating for us.
Yeah, I think that's true. Like that's the thing I was most worried about going into the race when I started hearing about rain, especially because of everybody made such a big deal about the performance in Brazil, which I still maintain it was impressive. But people were quick to call it like the greatest wet weather drive ever. And I was like, let's take it easy. Like, context matters. There were 2 Alpines on the podium. Like, take it easy. It was like the strategy helped. And yes, he was able to find dry line and traction where others couldn't. But like, let's take it easy. In this race, wasn't quite the same. In fact, both McLarens were pulling away from him for a while. Like, without the safety cars, he's nowhere near them.
No, he was 14 seconds behind them.
Yeah, he was way, way, way behind. And so obviously that some of this is car related as well. So that's the other thing. It could have been just Max finding some sort of traction in Brazil, or maybe just the car was very, very good around that circuit about being able to cope with the water and the spray that was coming off of other cars. Whereas it was just, keeping control of it. Yes. So obviously not to diminish the talent there, but in terms of best ever, like, people got to calm down.
Brazil also had the thing where he started in 17th, and he gained 7 spaces back before the first turn because the entire grid last year was kind of like, Max, please go this way.
Well, and it wasn't that, not to rehash Brazil again, but also he didn't actually start P17 because there were pit lane starts and other things like that. There was a car lost on the formation lap too, right? Wasn't that when Lance?
Oh, that's Lance Stroll. Yeah.
Yeah. So like he didn't actually start P7. Anyway, that was Brazil. Let's talk about Australia. I think the thing that would have really like put a big damper on this race and like its projection for the season is if this would have worked out to where suddenly Max is in the lead, Red Bull gets it right, Max hangs around enough, the McLarens can't catch him, Max wins the race, and that's it. Like, you really needed McLaren to get it right, and it would have been great if some other teams could have gotten it right, like Ferrari, and done something. But like, you really, to me, it was almost dangerous once you saw Max in the lead. I was like, oh, here we go again. Like, as much shit as we talked about how, hey, tune into F1, so competitive, it's going to be the best year ever, and then Max wins the first race. We didn't need that. So thankfully, it didn't happen. He was second, but if he's second, that's also not like, that's still exciting because he's been so dominant for multiple seasons in a row now. So at least him being second is something different than what we have seen, and it continues the trend from last season of McLaren having the better car and Lando and Oscar being very good drivers themselves.
Yeah, I mean, we would have been singing, Kendrick, turn his TV off if Verstappen had won. Nobody needed that, especially, like you said, especially when for 3 months they've actually been hyping the season as you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what team is going to shine. All these changes, all these rookies. These teams are pressed to do this, and make this the most competitive season. And they were like, oh, like that Verstappen guy won again, right? Like, what has changed? But yeah, I'm glad, again, in that regard only, I'm glad that Lando was the winner. And I'm glad that we had, like, when we look at the leaderboard, you see a top 10 with some familiar names and some teams where people are like, that's a team, like they haven't done anything, right? Like, Hulkenberg, yo man, he got points, right? Kick Sauber, they got more points in one race than they did all last year. So you see those like little changes, and that gives you hope that this grid may be you'll see leaderboards that are very different from week to week.
Ebony, we can't really avoid it any longer. We have to talk about it. Ferrari.
Oh my God.
Do we have to?
What the hell was that?
What was that? I'm more pissed that, one, Lewis couldn't get that Ferrari around that Williams for several laps. And he still didn't. And I'm also pissed because in the chaos of everything that happened at the end, you were 1 and 2, and you just had to survive. Like, Lando may have caught up to one of you, but he wasn't catching up to both of you in the time that was left. You had 10 laps left, and you fucking pit for tires that you, like, for what? Because the strategy still doesn't make sense. You were pitting for rain, but the rain was only for a couple laps, so you may have lost a little bit of time, but you didn't know. It was too much unpredictable bull happening outside for you to not just race your race. You have 2 great drivers that could just race a race, and you just were like, no, we want to be cautious. For what? For what?
I disagree slightly. Here's why. I think they were right in getting the tires. They were wrong in that they were 4 laps too late, right? They were 4 laps behind everyone else. When it first started, if they had gone in with them, they would have maintained maybe 3 or 4 and had the tires to really hold off and get a podium and maybe even take a shot at the leaders, which at that point I think would have been Yuki.
It would have been Yuki, Ocon,
and
and Russell.
Or yeah, I'm sorry, Russell. Yeah. And they would have, and they had the pace on those guys. Yeah. And so their problem was they stayed out. And then when everyone else was on intermediates, it was slick for them. And yes, they only need to wait a couple more laps, but they were losing so much ground. And you saw, I think you saw Leclerc, like, he was basically doing Tokyo Drift on every turn. So and then they decide to come in, but then at that point it's too late and they lose the positioning that they would have had. I think that was the only mix up they did.
I mean, it was really, like, they double stacked it really well. Let's give them that. Yeah. That was beautiful. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Beautiful double stack. But like you said, it was too late. So at that point, you risk it. You already fucked up. You lost it already. You were all like, you were in the hunt. And I get it. I sort of get it, but I don't, because you were right there. You were 10 laps away, and you may have lost a little bit of ground, but you were there. You were there. You did it. Like,
I hear what you're saying, Ebony, and I do agree. I think the big problem was if you're gonna commit to a strategy, commit to a strategy. And it seemed like they committed to being like, okay, we're gonna power through this rain. The problem was, so we learned about classes of rain in this race. Class
Right.
1 rain, light rain. Class
Learn
3
something new
rain,
every day.
heavy, right? And so they just kept saying class 1 rain. We're gonna have a pocket of 5 minutes of class 1 rain, all throughout like the first 30 laps. And then suddenly they were like, uh-oh, class 3 coming. We don't know how long it's going to last. We don't really know when it's going to hit, but it's going to be a problem. And that's what caused a lot of the chaos at the end. And if you would have known a little bit about how it would have lasted, like how long it could have lasted or whatever, if you can just maintain, then you just maintain, because then once things dry up, and it shouldn't take a long time to dry up, because if it's a quick rain shower, then a couple laps around the track and you got a dry line again. So like, I get it where Ferrari just wanted to make that gamble, but when I saw the onboard of Leclerc, he was fighting that car. I think if they would have stayed out there on those slicks, they would have lost one car, maybe both of them, because they were not staying on the track at all. Like he was fighting that thing every single time. He had to go not in a straight line, which Australia basically has no straight lines as a track. It was a real problem, and so I get it. But then I'm with you, Donald. Like, you see what everybody else is doing. If you're behind, what do they kind of say? You just copy other strategy. You do everybody's strategy, unless you know that you can just hang out there and kind of make a really bold call. Like George Russell is known for doing these things, just making a ridiculous strategy call. No, let's stay out. But you couldn't make that call because you didn't know what was on the other side. And you didn't know how long that rain, how heavy the rain was going to be, how the cars were going to react to it, how many cars were going to spin out and all of that. Like, you didn't have that information. So when everybody else goes in, if you go in too, then you don't lose any positions, and now you have new tires and you can go fight if you're in position to do that. But the fact that you wait, and then you put your drivers in a bad situation where they're having to barely hang on to the car, and then you pit them again, and it's like, okay, so y'all just gave up on this race. It was really frustrating.
Yeah, I think that's where I'm really hung up is you were doing everything right until it went very, very wrong. And then it just kind of felt like you were just like, okay, well, next race it is, and like, let's just get there. I'm like, you let Kick get more points than both your drivers combined.
Oh my God. When you put it that way.
It was just one guy, but
Did it hurt a little bit? Just a little bit, right? Like that.
Well, one thing I do want to talk about though is can we take bets on how long Lewis's race engineer is going to last?
Oh, 5 races.
Will it be him or Doohan that goes first?
1, 2, 3, 4, fifth race. By the time we get to Miami,
I feel like everyone has had somebody, whether it's a boss, a coworker, who has done what that engineer did and has reacted the way Lewis had to react, where he was like, hey man, I'm gonna give you some information. He goes, I got it. Let me focus on what I got out here. It's raining out here, man. And then he goes, just saying it's available. And I said, I'm just saying, shut the fuck up. That's what I'm just saying. Shut up. Get out of and the thing is, Leclerc did the same thing, right? Like, he mentioned something. Leclerc was like, I'm trying to work here. Like out of my face. Like, and it's funny because when Yuki does it, everyone's like, oh, he's brash. But again, these guys were clearly saying, hey, there's something coming up here. We're in the middle of this rainstorm, trying to navigate and dodge all this stuff that's flying around us, cars and ducks and all this stuff. Give me a minute. When we get through this patch, then we can talk about what the next phase of the strategy should be. But right now, the phase is I'm trying not to get myself killed over here.
You ever had somebody like on the phone try to explain to you how to do something, like you're at their house for whatever reason, either you're like dog sitting or whatever, who knows, but you're there, and like how you turn on the TV and they're like, oh, you got to press like that button for a second, and then you got to grab the big remote and press that button, and then you got to wait, then you got to put it on input and get to the right input. That's how you get. And if you want to get to Netflix, and it's like he was trying to do that to Lewis, well, Lewis was like, I'm going 130 miles per hour in a wet track. Can you stop telling me to press buttons right now?
It's even worse, right? It's like, hey man, can you feed the dog? Hey man, I'm already in the process of feeding him. Where's the bag? Oh, the bag's in the kitchen. Okay, great, I got it. So to do it. You take the scoop and you put it in there and you pull out the food. And he's like, no, I got it. I'm trying to do it right now. And then he's like, and then when you take the scoop of food, then you put it in the bowl and you feed it to the dog. Like, that's how you feed the dog. You want to come drive?
Then you whistle. You whistle twice. That's how the dog knows that it's.
Yeah, you want to come do it? You want to do this, or should I continue to do this? Because right now I'm in the car, right? Like that's what it felt like.
It also just felt like a guy that was just like over it, because he literally goes like, I know what I'm doing. Like literally the last radio call you hear is, I'm not close enough. When I'm close enough, I know what to do. Lead me to it. And at that point, he just kind of like stops talking. And it was so great, because he was just, you could tell that like Lewis didn't want to get that assertive that quick into his first race, but he had no choice. And so he was trying so hard not to like curse until he got to the end of like, why did you do this strategy to me? Because he goes, where am I? Am I back in ninth? And then it's just a long fuck.
Yeah. We saw the new they don't put the caption in there anymore with the asterisk. They just don't put anything there on the screen. And so that beep though was about 5 seconds.
It was very long.
he was angry.
Yeah, and I get it from him. Like it was the whole thing was just weird. The whole like K1's available. Okay, lead me to it. K1's available. I know you just said that. Lead me to it. Did you not hear my other instruction? Like it doesn't help to know this available unless I can't get to it. Like some of those things will get ironed out, but also like you have to give relevant information. And you have to like, I was listening to some of the like pre-race coverage. I can't remember who was saying this. I think it was Ruth. I forget her last name, but she does a lot of the pre-race stuff for F1 TV. And she was saying like the real role of a race engineer is to give vital information in as few words as possible. Like you do not want to disturb the drivers that much. Like, yes, sometimes you'll have strategy chats and everything. Sometimes you'll have to go check on something, but you always have to keep the drivers aware of the fact that like, I'm getting you answers. I promise I will be back. And you have to like, just keep that line of communication open, but not consistently badger them on the radio. And like, I listened to that. And then I heard like how Lewis is his race engineer. And I was like, I don't know, my guy. I like that was, it'll be tough if you don't last, but also if you were booted sometime this season, I completely understand. Cause that seemed like it was extremely annoying.
Are we ready for me to talk about the thing that had almost had me howl at the TV in laughter?
Yes, because I bet it was the same thing for me.
It was, first of all, it was McLaren almost running into each other. Both of them hitting the gravel and running into each other. And then, of course, Piastri spins out and he's moonwalking on the grass, the wheels are spinning and he's trying to get back on the track. And first of all, for like 3 laps, that was the most captivating part of the race. Seeing if he's just pulled a stroll in grass or if he's going to get out of there. Like if they had left it on a cliffhanger and said, tune in next week, find out if Oscar Piastri's still in the grass. But he finally got out of there. You could hear the crowd just roar. It's probably the biggest crowd pop of the day was him finally being able to moonwalk out of the grass and back onto the track and at least get back into the race.
Well, to be fair, they saw maybe 23 laps of actual racing out of the 57. Mm-hmm. So fair.
Yeah, you know what I thought you were gonna say, and so that was an interesting moment. And honestly, shout out to Oscar for that because that's actually not hard. Those cars don't really have like a reverse. It ain't like a regular car where you can just like drop that thing in reverse and go back. Like you got to maneuver that thing in ways and be very delicate because if not, you'll just spin the tires and you'll be stuck. So it was actually really worth it. And that move he put on Lewis, I hate it had to be Lewis, but on like the last like 2 turns, oh, it was nasty. Just like that dude was just full of rage at that point, and I was like, all right, man, do your thing. That was amazing. What I thought you were gonna say is Charles Leclerc had the best radio exchange of the day.
Oh God,
it went full French. Yeah.
He said that he's got a leakage. There's something there, and the engineer says, a leakage of what? He says, I have the seat full of water, like full of water, and the engineer replies, must be the water. And then Leclerc said, let's add that to the words of wisdom. That I was like, high comedy. Hi, I'm here for the competition. I'm here for the science of it, the cars, everything. But I'm also here for straight up comedy. And that was perfect.
Amazing. again, it leads. It's the frustration that they, that clearly they had on the day. I don't know if they have the similar frustration if it's not raining the way it is, but yeah, an all-time radio call in F1 because you could tell how frustrated it was, and again, just like the basically Lewis saying, "When I want your opinion, I'll give it to you." Like when that happened, like radio silence for probably like 10 laps. They're like, I'm just gonna. He doesn't want to talk to me right now. I'm just gonna let him go.
I was actually very surprised that there was not a lot of like crazy radio calls on this one, especially because of all the crashes that was happening. It was a little sad. It was all just like a lot of I'm okay.
Yeah.
Sadness.
Yeah. There was a lot of that. I'm glad everybody was okay. Like that. Yeah. That is also important to note. These things are absolutely the most, like, the machinery is outrageous in terms of how much it costs to design, how fast they go, and the fact that you can have multiple drivers crash in multiple different ways, and everybody just walks away and fine. Like, still don't want to take that for granted in this sport. It wasn't always like that. Ebony, let's get to like a bit of chaos throughout the weekend that you delighted in, that you were happy about, because I have one as well, and Kyle wrote one in too because he must. He's not on this episode, but he's making his presence felt, and I will make sure that his is represented here on the podcast. But for you, what's something that you just absolutely loved from the entire weekend?
Oh, the Yuki Revenge Tour. It's on.
Oh God, hell yeah.
It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful, and I respect it so much because, like I said, Lawson did a lot of shit talking to end last season. The middle finger, the just, I'm not here to make friends, I'm here to race. Well, you didn't do that, buddy. You didn't challenge anybody. You got lapped. You crashed in FP1?
Or is it no, it's P3, I think. FP3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whichever one. You crash there, then you spin, you get lapped, and then you crash in this one. What are you good for? What are we here for? I hope Danny Ricciardo turns his phone off when he sees Red Bull come across his screen. He's like, I'm making more money doing the American circuit of PR for Formula One than I would, and it's less stressful. I get to shotgun beers on the Late Show with Trevor Noah instead of racing a car and crashing every week. Why the fuck would he answer the phone? I'm so happy. Yuki balled. He had one of the sneaky, quietest, best races. It was so refreshing to see because he just, for some reason, the Red Bulls, the V Carb and the Red Bull are close this year. And only Yuki is taking advantage of that. Like, he's very close to where Max finished on the podium, honestly. Because Yuki was, what, 6th or 7th?
Well, he finished 12th, but it's because they did a bad strategy. They had another issue.
Well, he was racing 6th.
Yeah, he was up there.
All race.
Yeah. He was in front of Lewis Hamilton for the majority of the race. It was him and Albon that were ahead of Lewis Hamilton for the majority.
He was in front of the Williams, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, like,
and his qualifying was incredible. Like he was, yeah.
He was so fast.
The Yuki Revenge Tour is on.
Oh, please! By the time we get to Miami, there's going to be some race shakeup and some seat shakeups that we just.
Wait, well, you know how you just said you hope that Daniel Ricciardo ignores any Red Bull phone? I hope Yuki Tsunoda ignores anytime they're like, you know what? Yuki, maybe we have an off week. Maybe we want to you want to hop in the Red Bull and do some testing again. Maybe we'll think about no. Be done with Red Bull. Do what you do this year. Go on the Revenge Tour and then get out of that system.
If I'm Yuki, if Red Bull calls, I'm picking up like, yo, Cadillac, what's going on, man? Hey, good to see. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. Heck, you know what? Let me call you right back. Click. The next time they call, like, Audi, my people, what's good? Oh, this ain't Audi? Oh, my bad. Let me call you right back. Click. And then just keep doing that.
He really needs to, because like they like it can't be. I mean, I know it's run race, but it can't be any more clear. Like there were really difficult conditions, and it's only strategy that he doesn't finish a lot higher up than some cars than we thought would finish, and he has a Racing Bull car finishing and performing that well. Yeah, that's outrageous. So like Yuki, the Revenge Tour is completely on. keeping with Red Bull, Dr. Helmut Marko, bring your racist ass to the floor is what I want to say, because you talked a lot of shit about Gabriel Bortoleto and saying that you thought that he was a, what did he say, a B-rated driver?
Mm-hmm.
He said he didn't expect much from him at all. Interesting. In qualifying, not only did he out-qualify a very, very fast veteran in Nico Hulkenberg, if I recall correctly, he got out of Q1. Kimi Antonelli did not. Liam Lawson also did not. So when you look at the rookies and who got out, Bortoleto got a Sauber in its first qualifying session in F1 to Q2. And several rookies who you think are better than him did not. Interesting. Maybe stop being so damn racist and just let the kid do his thing, right? He's obviously, he's in one of the worst cars on the grid. We know this. If everybody doesn't spin out and strategy doesn't make up any time or places, we know where we expect those Saubers to be, right? It's not really a secret about the performance of that car. This is a kid who is talented enough to be in a better car, but because of politics and relationships and all of that, he's not. Let him be fast, let him grow in the sport, and you can see the talent. If you can't see the talent now, after one race, maybe you should be rethinking your situation, and maybe you just shouldn't be talking shit about drivers that you don't know anything about. So I love it when Dr. Helmut Marko always looks like an ass, and thankfully for me, he does it often.
I don't even give him the respect to call him a doctor.
You know what?
That
That's
man is
fair.
a helmet. That man is a thing, is a piece of equipment that people put on their head before they jump into a race car. That's it. That's all.
Fair enough. All right, let's take a quick break because there was so much to talk about in this race. But when we did our race preview, we did podium predictions and we did our predictions on the constructor scrap and all of that. Zoomy and Gloomy Boy, which we actually do have to crown our Zoomy and Gloomy Boys of this race. But I thought it'd be fun after the break to just go through some of the things that we predicted in the preview, because actually we weren't far off. All right, let's do this because this was actually kind of fun. And I kind of want to do this throughout the season, not to like make fun of us or anything like that or make us feel silly, because who knows, like, right? Everybody's guessing on everything that's happening. Maybe when you get to like the end of the season, you might know a bit with a lot more information. But right now, we're just having fun. So let me run through some podium predictions real quick. First, second, third. Deepty had Oscar Piastri. Not bad. Kind of close. Not bad. Charles Leclerc second. Oops. Max third. Not bad. Ebony, you had Leclerc winning. Ferrari, who could have seen that coming? Lando second, and then Max. So not far. Two of the three who actually were on the podium. Donald, you had Leclerc as well. You had Max second, so there you go. And Oscar third, which Oscar should have been, one of those places. So, pretty good guess there. Megan, she had Oscar first, Charles second, and Lando third. And I had Lando winning and Max second and Charles Leclerc third. So not bad, right? Not bad.
I'm with it. I mean, again, there's a couple. I think the weather affected some of these things, right? Like the McLarens were running well enough where Oscar was probably going to finish second or third, first, but he's going to finish in the podium, but for that slip. So I think having him on there made a lot of sense.
And Lando and Max finishing 1 and 2, they could have been 1 and 3, 2 and 3. It really didn't, like, you knew they were going to be up there. So not bad predictions, honestly.
Yeah, not bad. I think we kind of had the same thing for most points. The majority of us selected McLaren. There were a couple Ferraris, which, again, I feel like that's not our fault. That's Ferrari's fault. They should have been there.
We did our job,
right? Maybe not most points, but like they shouldn't be where they finished. I was very wrong when it came to least points. I said Sauber. Megan said Sauber, but Donald, you and Ebony said Haas. Y'all were right. Right. That hurts my heart to say, but y'all were right. Alpine and Racing Bulls also had 0 points, so we could have chose either one of those. And it's kind of wild, right? When we talk about this season being one of the most unpredictable, like Donald, like you said, like Sauber scrapped for points towards the end of 2024. but they've already had more points than they did in one race. And who saw any of that coming? That was wild.
You know, the fact that he, first race for Sauber and gets more points than they got all last year. I mean, good for them. Now, will it sustain is the question. No. I don't think so.
Is that a question? It's not. I mean, hey, listen, we don't know anything. Maybe it will happen. All right, let's do it, because I want to talk about our Zoomy and Gloomy boys who we actually predict, but I do want to, or who we actually want to give the award to now that the race is over. I didn't explain it last time we were on the pod, so apologies if you're just like listening to these pods. First of all, welcome and thank you, and share the pod, please. But we have decided, because in our infinite silliness, that they have driver of the day. That's our Zoomy boy of the day. Y'all hear us say zoom, zoom all the time, vroom, vroom. This is what we do. So we have our Zoomy boy of the day. That's our driver of the day. But we also have our Gloomy boy of the day, because we wanted to kind of spotlight maybe a day that didn't go so well. And so we want to have both ends of the spectrum represented, because there's usually interesting ways to talk about why you're selecting one driver in both categories or either category. So that's what we do here. So prediction, Zoomy boy. Deeply said Oscar. Until he was hanging out in the grass. Not a bad one.
Not a bad shout. Not a bad shout.
Ebony said Carlos Sainz. Unfortunately, he met the wall. Donald said Kimi Antonelli. Also, not a bad one. Megan, Charles Leclerc. Yeah. And I said Pierre Gasly. Yeah. Our Checo Perez Memorial Gloomy Boy Award, which is what its official name is. Deeply said Yuki, which, wrong. Ebony said Stroll, and I think honestly, or Strulovich, right? Okay, look it up. Look up Lance Stroll. Look up his daddy on Wikipedia. They're not getting away with this Stroll business anymore. They are Strulovich on this podcast. Learn your history. You said the only good thing about him is he didn't crash. Right. Donald said Hulkenberg.
Hey, happy to be wrong on that one. Yeah, he got points. Yeah.
Okay, let's get into who actually deserves this award, because we have some interesting names to talk about. Maybe a couple that we haven't completely talked about yet. So, Donald, and do both at the same time. Zoomy boy and Gloomy boy. Who you got?
Let's start with Zoomy boy. I said before the race that it would be Kimi Antonelli, and I think it was. I mean, he started in P16, ended in P4. I know there was a convoluted way that he was able to get there, but he's one of two rookies that finished. And in a race that was chaotic, he was able to, labyrinth through the chaos and get to fourth. And I think at the end they tried to take points away from, tried to take 5 seconds away from him, so he dropped to fifth, and then they appealed, went back to P4. So I'm happy with the fact that he, showed out in his first race and did pretty well. I think the Gloomy boy that I have, unfortunately, is another rookie. It's Ali Behrman. He's the other rookie to finish, but guys, he crashed in FP1. He couldn't get the repairs done in time for FP2. He got back for FP3, but he pulled a Stroll and spun into the gravel and couldn't get out. He then had a gearbox issue that couldn't get him out of the pit in qualifying, and he had to start in pit lane for the race. And while he did finish, he finished dead last of the drivers who completed the race. And he was never, I don't think he gained a spot by overtaking anybody. He was just last place, and other people just kept crashing in front of him. So he's my Gloomy boy. It's unfortunate, and I know it can only get better for him.
Well, all right. I hear you when it comes to Ollie. I can't argue with any of the points that you made. What I will say, though, at least he finished the race.
Yeah,
that is true.
That's
yes.
more that can be said for several rookies and several veteran drivers too. Like this was, I wasn't it when he was in the Haas in Brazil and the rainy conditions as well. He was terrified. So like to finish this race with as many cars that were going off track and crashing, especially after he had several crashes in dry conditions in free practice, I feel like it's not a win. It's not Zoomy boy worthy, but maybe this is like, it could have been worse.
You have to, for me, this is the total body of work.
Fair.
That is why he's getting this. So
okay.
Again, if he does well in practice and has one fluke moment in the race, okay, fine. But he I mean, as I mentioned, he had troubles in every everything this
He
week.
did. It was really bad. I was like, damn it. I told everybody you were one of my rookies to watch, and then that happens. And then that happens again, and then something else happens. And I'm like, damn it, Ollie. Get the car on the track. Ebony, your Zoomy and Gloomy boy.
So my Zoomy, I have kind of two. First one's the safety car. It led the race for like at least 30 laps.
I was gonna say it probably led the most laps out of anybody, didn't it?
Yeah. Like, I don't know how you don't, especially after that first one where you get a crash, you go to the safety car, and then under safety car, you get a second and third crash.
I don't get how the safety car didn't get points in this race. I really don't.
Like, that's not fair. Like, he worked hard. And Colapinto. Colapinto is like looking at all these rookies crash, and he's like, my time is coming.
Stay in shape.
My time is here.
Stay ready.
Yeah. he's there. My gloomy boy, it's Lawson. Like I said, like, I know I've been picking on him, but you have a very big role to fill. They're very clear about what they want from that second car for Red Bull, and you just didn't deliver at all. You're not helping him. You're not helping Max compete for the first for number one, and clearly you're not helping in the constructors race. So I know it's only race one, but they had very clear expectations from the beginning, and they're going to look at this as a failure. And you don't get that many when it comes to Red Bull, especially when Max is fighting, like legit fighting now for championships, because he's not the fastest anymore. So he has to rely on racing ability and help. And he's not going to get it from Yuki. He's not going to get the V-Carbs help. It's got to come from you, Lawson. And you just showed me that your ex-dog was at like negative 0.4. So,
you know, I think I agree with you because, and really, like, yeah, technically he's rookie, right? He's done several Grand Prix drives, right? Didn't he say he has 11 races, I believe? Like, he's got a decent number of races under his belt, and his bar is better than Checo in 2024. That's a very low bar. You did not come close to clearing that in your first race out. Now, obviously, things can improve because they can't get worse, but how often did we say that about Checo week after week? Can't get any worse than this, and then it kept being the same thing every single week. So, like, he really has to bounce back, and somewhat soon, because otherwise, and again, I think fundamentally this is just a problem Red Bull has with that second driver and the car and the driving style. I think it just goes back to all of that. But maybe they just need to invest a little bit and, okay, this is how Max likes the car. People can't drive with that. It's not really helping us to have a car that nobody can drive, to have two cars that only one person can drive. Because Max can't drive them both. So maybe you just need to do something else on the development side to get somebody else, like make that car work for somebody else. I'm not an engineer. I don't know how hard that would be, but it seems like it might be an important thing to do because, as we've talked about before, all of them, like the Drivers' Championship is the prestige. Max can win that on his own. Constructors, that's where the money is. Do you want the money? Probably. If so, you might want to invest in having a second car that somebody can drive.
I don't know if they want the money.
They might
because
not.
if they did, they wouldn't have hired Liam Lawson in the first place.
Oh, Jesus. All right.
Ooh.
Bars. All right. Zoomy and Gloomy boy, here's mine. Hey, listen, we thought at the beginning, and especially through testing, through free practice, through qualifying, we thought Carlos Sainz was going to be the one getting that Williams up there, pulling in some points, and we're like, wow, look at Williams, they're back. Wrong, it was Alex Albon. Hey, listen, if Yuki's on a revenge tour, I want to see an Albon revenge tour as well, because that dude, again, wasn't he a former Max teammate as well? Didn't that whole Red Bull system spit him up, chew him out, all that? Or what'd I say?
Chew him up, spit him out?
There it is. I was going to say I said it wrong. But what I said was probably X-rated. But yeah, I finished fifth. He qualified high as well. Impressive drive in that Williams. It was very, very good to see. I was rooting for it. I was pulling for him. I thought it was a great drive from him, especially in those conditions. It was great performance. Gloomy boy, I'm naming an entire country.
Damn.
Yep. Spain, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Sorry to all the Spaniards. Carlos Sainz and Fernando Alonso both found the wall. But Carlos seemed weird. It seemed like he just had a setting issue where he just like pressed the wrong button and the car said, all right, into the wall. Don't press the into the wall button next time. I think that's what you probably should avoid.
Just put an X over that one.
Yeah, put some tape over it or something. Don't press
Do
that
not
button.
touch.
Yeah, I don't know why it's there in the first
Why
place.
is it exactly?
Yeah, so
No,
don't
he
do
did.
that.
He did explain it over the radio. If you didn't hear it, he said like it felt like the car just got a little too much power when he accelerated just a little bit to like go around the curb, and he was just like, it all like all the power surged all at once, and he just straight off. And I was like, oh, I didn't know your car could do that.
Yeah, that the big red button that probably has like cover on it or something like that, like only press in case of emergency. Don't press that button. It's bad. In every movie and every cartoon I've ever watched, bad things happen when you press that button. Don't do it. So that was bad. And then Fernando Alonso, he crashed as well. So that was really unfortunate to see. When I saw an Aston Martin, I was like, damn, there goes Lance Stroll. And then they said Fernando Alonso. I was like, they can't be right. And then they said Fernando Alonso. And I was like, okay, that looks like Fernando Alonso. How is this how did this happen? And so, yeah, Spain, I'm sorry. Both your drivers didn't make
just
it.
the whole country.
Whole country, gloomy.
Do better.
I'm sure you have great weather. I'm sure it's beautiful there. I've been there. It is beautiful. But on that day, gloomy. Extremely gloomy.
He said clouds over Spain. That's crazy.
Yeah, yep. Just overcast, gross. Sorry, bad day for y'all.
But are there ducks in Spain? I'm about.
There are ducks in
this
Spain.
again. We're
There are
not
ducks
going
in
to do this again. we have the answers that we needed from this race. We found out that we do have a season. We found out that the rookies are gonna provide the chaos. We also found out that there are ducks in Australia. What more could you want from a Grand Prix? And with that,
Hard-hitting journalism.
there it is. We ask the questions that need to be asked here, okay? This is what we do at DRSFC. And with that being said, that's it for our race review. We will be back to review the next race or preview the next race. It is China. It is a sprint race. That's going to be fascinating. Very, very, very different track than Australia. Far as I know, it's not expected to rain. We'll see. That can change. But I'm not expecting.
Lawson's still in a car.
Yeah. Right. So we'll be back to do that. We'll preview that at some point this week because the races are coming now. Like we're into the season. I'm here for it. It's going to be super fun. A sprint race changes a lot too. Only one free practice session before you go into sprint qualifying and then the sprint race. And then you go straight from that sprint race to qualifying for the feature race. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of competitive driving coming up throughout multiple qualifying sessions and two feature races, with one obviously truncated at the sprint race. So really, really excited for this next weekend. It's going to show a lot in terms of development and where cars maybe actually are, because you likely won't have the element and the conditions of the rain. All right, for Donald, for Ebony, I'm Andre.
Vroom, vroom.